Hello, this is Photography Gamer, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Smalland Survive the Wilds. Smalland Survive the Wilds is a survival game developed by Merge Games. You play as a tiny character in a vast world of gigantic trees, huge insects and an abundance of resources to gather. Okay, what is it like to play? So you start out with a pretty basic character creator and some simple tutorials. These just outline the very basic things you need to know, but soon enough you'll be free to explore the game world. In the beginning you'll be using your small person sense to scavenge for key resources that can allow you to craft weapons, craft tools, armour, that kind of stuff. I'd say the crafting is simple enough, even though some of the resources they're pretty hard to find and there's not many of them, so it can require a lot of tedious waiting around for them to respawn. As the sun sets, you'll need to build a home, and the system I'd say for building is user friendly and straightforward. Again, the amount of resources required can be quite a pain early on, and I would say the balancing does need to be looked at, as it can be very tiresome in the first few hours. One thing about the game world that I really did enjoy was the verticality. You can scale these large trees and claim them for your own. Base building also can be used at the top of these trees if you want a nice little safe haven, or you can just go down and live with all the ants and all the dirty little bugs. The world features a seasonal aspect as well, and that does alter the challenge, as you'll often be unprepared for it the first time. Thankfully you can craft unique armour and items that help with this alteration of the environment, but I would say the best part of Smalland was taming and riding animals. You can recruit a gang of ladybirds to carry all your gear, or even get a grasshopper and just bounce across the environment very quickly. But Smalland features a lot of dangers, from insects, some spiders, soldier ants, and you will die a lot early on. And also the verticality can be quite frustrating in that regard too. Like, you might get attacked by a bug, fall off a cliff, and 5 hours of your gear that you've crafted will be at the bottom of this ravine, and you can't go down there to get it because there's all these dirty great bugs that will just kill you as soon as you get down there, so quite frustrating. Now thankfully you can tweak the difficulty levels, but I do think the game needs a lot of work in terms of the time balancing, the challenge balancing and the combat difficulty, because some of the combat difficulty is a bit weird. Like, some enemies that you think are going to be really difficult to kill, they're just like, you walk through them, and then others are just absolute nightmare. It's, you know, also the AI I'd say is quite poor. Definitely feels like early development stage, like very early, as in I'm not really sure this is ready for public consumption as it is. I know it's early access, but there's an early access point where it kind of feels like this partially completed, but this one's very far from that. Visually the game looks quite delightful, to be perfectly honest. You know, for the most part it's pretty sparse, yes, but you know, it has this nice colourful quality. There are moments that are absolutely breathtaking, and I'd say the menus, the interface, they're good. They're nicely sort of laid out, they're clean, the fonts are easy to read, it's all very nicely done. In terms of sound, well, I'd say sound is a little bit of an odd one in Smalland. Like, the music, the effects, they're all quite good. It's just the levels, right? I had to max out my speaker volume just to hear anything, and I had the volume settings to maximum in the game. I'm not really sure why it's so low, but yeah, I'd say be mindful of this if you're going to play Smalland and then you're going to play something like COD afterwards, because you might blow out your eardrums or your speakers, one or the other. Okay, what's good and what's bad? Good points. The seasonal aspect is interesting, taming is good fun, building and crafting are simple enough, and the game has lots of potential. Bad points? The game world feels like a bit of an empty shell. Certain resources are too scarce, making for some incredibly tedious sections where you have to wait for them to respawn. The audio levels are all over the place. The game is clearly nowhere near ready for public consumption, and the verticality can be very annoying if you lose several hours of gear that you just cannot recover. Okay, verdicts. Smalland Survive the Wilds is a survival game with a huge amount of potential. The building is solid, the crafting is simple, taming is well implemented, and the game world I would say is pretty cool. However, it feels a bit too early access if you know what I mean. Like the game is essentially a shell of what it's going to be in 2 years' time. The novelty of it wears off pretty quickly and it's hard to play it for hours on end like other top end survival games. I don't think it's a bad game. Far from it, I just think it's clearly nowhere near ready, and for that reason I cannot recommend it right now. I would say wait 1 year, maybe even 2 years, because by then I think this one could potentially be a classic. But as it stands, it's really not worth playing right now in the current state. So I would say add it to your wish list, keep your eye on it, hang fire and give it a year or two and then invest in it, because I think by that point we will have a really good survival game on our hands. With that in mind, I'd score it at the moment, Smalland, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It's okay, but probably not one to spend your money on right now. Okay, that's the review. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, join the channel. You're always welcome. Thank you for watching. Cheers.